She plays our favorite feline doctor in Lower Decks and was the perfect choice for it. Gillian Vigman, welcome to Trek Untold. How's it
Oh,
going
thank you
today?
so much. It's going great, Matthew. Very, very well.
So we're talking today about the final season of Lower Decks here, but I actually want to take a step back before we get into some of that stuff because I don't really know much about your history with Trek itself and the franchise so far. And I'd kind of like to ask if you remember what your audition was like for the part of Dr. Tana, and did you originally audition for that character?
Yes, I always will remember it because it was so completely fun. I remember I read the script and I thought to myself, they kept it very much under wraps, but the stuff that I was able to read, I said, I don't know what this is, but it's hilarious. So I didn't I didn't even know that it was a Star Trek sort of part of the franchise. So when I auditioned, I thought this is just some kind of crazy character, and they said make her as gruff and nasty as you usually are, Jillian. And I said that is so easy. So it was such a like going back in for the callback. They let me improvise and such and be as they're like, no, no, go crazy. And I'm like, oh, okay, easy. So it was a and then as it unfolded, I was so impressed by the origin, like how it originated and how it was based off the animated series from '73. I thought it was such a clever take on something that was done in earnest, and yet there was a lot of respect still paid towards the franchise itself, but the comedy was heightened, and I thought that was such a cool take, cool angle on the entire idea of the series.
Yeah, Dr. Tana is such a great throwback to the animated series, and I love what you've done with this character because you've really gotten to flesh out the species in a lot of ways. And yeah, on
Yes.
that note, I'm kind of curious to know, like, how did you find the voice that you ultimately settled on for Tana? How much meowing did you have to do to figure that out? And was there any like inspirations for it?
Yeah, honestly, I think I went into the realm of how low could I go with my voice and how gruff I could also get. But also like I love she's such a salty Caitian. She's such a uh she's it what the best way to put it is careworn, but with so much she still has so much, what is it, spit and vinegar in her. Like she's such a combination of someone who truly believes in what she is, her career aspirations as the best a physician slash surgeon slash a researcher within the realm of the medical field throughout space. And I kind of love that she comes off as the gruffest thing in the world, but I think there's a soft spot in her too. And I think it was I think nearly every season I got to delve deeper into that to see like the softer side. I think we're so used to the outside, which is this very gruff exterior, but I think we've learned that she's very strange in the best ways, uh, and that she really loves what she does. So deeper, my voice tends to go deeper. So I was trying to even go, by the time I'm done with each, every time we go in for, I'd be doing the voice, I'd come out and be like, oh my God, what have I done to myself? But I loved having that because it made me recognize, I'm like, oh, it's so worth it. This is so
Hmm.
much fun. I really enjoyed this entire process and like laughing out loud a lot of the times at what I was reading and what I was seeing on the page.
It's true that her role really has expanded over these past 5 seasons here. And for you, especially as a performer, I mean, what have you thought about the journey of this character?
It has been such a dream because, as you're saying, the expansion of her character, but plus like just the comedy of how vulnerable she can be once in a while, which is so seemingly impossible for someone like Dr. Tana to get into because she's so very much like I do my job, I keep it straight, I do everything just f off, leave me alone. And yet you realize as the seasons have progressed, the connection the need to have a human, I'm going to say
Hmm.
human, but how about this creature connection with everybody else is so prevalent in who she is. And even though she comes off as this gruff, reclusive, introverted, uh, I would also say intellect of her species, she really needs to be connected to everybody on that ship, and she has a true love of her job and the people she works with. And especially you see it a lot with Tendi. You obviously see it with both upper and lower. So it's been a really, like I said, they what's been such a cool experience too is that they let me kind of go, what is it, ride roughshod over everything. And it's been so much fun to be absolutely filthy. Um,
Very true.
one example of that is like, so when this started, I remember it was either the first or second season. My son had to join us since he was off school. I didn't know what to do with him. So they were so sweet, everybody involved. They let him sit in. And of course, it was during one of the sessions where they're like, go crazy, swear all you want. And I looked at my son and he just looked, he's like, yeah, I'm used to this. And it made me recognize, I'm like, oh, I am this. This is who I am. I am a rough, like a nasty old sailor on a dock raising children. So
That's a visual.
I realized I know. So I'm not too far from whom I play. So it's been it's both been exploratory and also very comforting.
So you're saying there's like some similarities between Dr. Tana and Gillian here, and that kind of has me curious, like, has playing this character affected the way you do anything in real life?
Oh my gosh, all the time. Yes. As a matter of fact, I feel like I swear more than I ever have before. However, that has always been in my nature. And I found this out. A very good friend of mine who I knew 30 years ago. So we're talking like when I was in my late teens, early 20s. She's like, oh no, we called you Jersey Jill because you had such a mouth on you. You're like a sailor. And I remember thinking, I forgot. And I think that, right, I feel in some ways I was custom built to play this character. It was always meant to be. And when I look at the character and I look at myself right now, as I see myself in Zoom, I'm like, oh yeah, I look like her. I'm turning into a Caitian. I'm going to have a bitten ears, a bad attitude, but I try really hard and I have a heart of gold.
There you go. That's a good way to look at it.
Thank you. Yeah.
So, to kind of paraphrase things and bring it back to, I guess, the lower decks question here. I've been asking this to some of your fellow castmates, and the DS9 part of this is I'd like to ask you what you left behind and what did you take with you from playing this character across these 5 seasons?
Wow. So what I take with me is now a far more deeper respect for this entire franchise and the work that's been put into it. And you know what I think was so amazing is that it started off as this really incredibly original show from what at this point we can say nearly 50 years ago or more, 50 plus years ago, and that it has grown exponentially into this sort of powerhouse that is respected and beloved and hopefully will continue on in many different formats for multiple years. And I think the surprise I feel that I get and pride that I got to be a part of this is so profound to me. That in the world of the Trek universe, I feel so cool
Hmm.
that I'm yet one more part of it, and that I've learned so much more about it and about Gene Roddenberry and about how many people are involved in keeping it alive. And I think that is what I'll take away from it, and what I will leave behind. Well, there's always the dream that this will continue. I know it's been a really great season, considering it's been on. This is considered a long run, and I'm so grateful that I got to be a part of something that was both but really smartly based and hilarious at the same time, and which made it unique for the Trek franchise, the Star Trek franchise, but also that it lasted for so long, and hopefully in terms of being what's left behind, I hope that maybe there'll be a second coming of the show in a different format. Who knows? But I think this season is a really good way to sort of encapsulate the feelings of every character involved, like where they are in their aspirations and the movements that they probably feel for their next chapter. So it leaves it mildly open-ended, but also it gives a lot of answers to those who love the season so much and love the entire franchise. I
There you
hope
go.
that gave a good answer because of what I think basically I'm going to miss it a hell of a lot. And I will look back with a real deep sense of joy and pride, and then the curiosity of what could potentially come.
Mm. Well, just to put a bow in this conversation here, because it's been a great 5 seasons, but there's a lot of fans who are going to very much miss this show. I'm one of them. Does Gillian or Dr. Tana have a final message to all the lower deckers out there?
Am I allowed to swear?
Go for it.
Okay. Let me think of the best way to say this. Keep fucking around, but know that your heart is in it.
You can't top that. That's brilliant.
Okay.
All right, well, thank you very much, Jillian. It's been great watching you these 5 seasons. I hope to get to meet you at a Star Trek con one of these days too, and I look forward to hearing about what you do next after this. So live long and prosper, Jillian.
Thank you. Live long and prosper.
Trek Untold, the Star Trek podcast that goes beyond the stars, is powered by the Rageworks Podcast Network and affiliated with Nerd News Today.